What up, boy?
Hey, dude.
How goes it?
Oh, it's going, man. It's
Hell
going.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm slowly but surely making my way through the hour-long video for Express.
I can give you the express version.
That probably be better
And you can
because
watch both of them, and you'll probably, like, most times, like, you'll watch it, we'll try something, I'll do my own clarification, like, walkthrough on it, and you're typically good to go, I've noticed.
yeah, I mean, literally, like it's what I think I told you this the last time that we met was it was like when I go through and like watch it, like it makes sense, but then I have to watch someone do it. Like I have to
Yeah.
see it like working, and even though they do that in the walkthroughs, it's like it's not the same because it's like fragmented, things that they use, and when you show it, it's like you actually go through every step that we would actually do,
Yeah.
and it and it just clears things up
It's like,
because otherwise I'm trying to sit there and scrounge the internet for like every single little bit of documentation.
that is a skill to be earned, though. Like, that skill of scrounging the internet for documentation, looking up relevant answers, where you parse out the bullshit from the good ones.
Yeah.
That's the skill this course kind of builds up. So, like, there's a point of where, like, I sometimes don't show you something on purpose so you can try and figure it out. Like, you'll have the majority of it, but then you'll figure out, like, the last 20%. So I'm trying to help build up your skill set of, like, kind of like figuring out answers on your own solutions. And, like, now, like, you said on the last lab you're just working on the download stuff, and I looked at the rest of your code and it looks good, so
Wait, you're talking about for the node stuff that I'm doing?
yeah, the download one, right? That's where you're at, the popular downloader.
Uh,
Was that where you're struggling, or you're struggling somewhere else?
um, no, it's not the popular downloader. It's in the section before that in part 2, like in regards to the popular articles.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I'm gonna pull up mine so I can tell you. So what I did is I went through and I looked up for reference material in regards to what I can do to access that information because
Uh-huh.
If I use require or not require but request, you know, Matt showed the demo and how to do that, and I have a pretty good understanding of it because then you can go through and then call in, uh, the body and then the data and then the children of that and then pull out certain information from it.
Right.
But when I'm going through and using request promise, what I found was a piece of documentation that said use Cheerio.
Cheerio's a web crawler. You can figure that out, but I can show you how to do it just using request promise instead.
Okay, because I tried to use Cheerio, and that's what I have my code set up with right now. But I have it to where when I pull the information from Reddit, all it does is it gives me in my console or in my terminal, it gives me like this thing that I have no idea how to.
Yeah, the Reddit one is a fucking nightmare, and that's just a good point to like figure out how the fuck to navigate a crazy ass JSON is. I was updating a little spreadsheet I have like a daily little check-in note for Catalyst, so instruct Matt and the gang can come see my notes on every day's like confidence score, how far they are along the progress, feedback I get from students, and then my own personal notes on everyone. I'm not gonna share that with you, but I had to update it before I forgot about it today because I forgot yesterday, so I'm gonna have to come kind of like remember where everyone was. But yeah, it's all right, whatever. I don't think anyone actually looks at it besides me on a regular basis.
Well, as long as there's no negative information.
No, it's just like a report, so they can like look through several spreadsheets to see people's progress and how fast they move up and down, where they might be struggling, on what section they're at, So.
Okay.
Like I used it when I came back from vacation, so I looked at the 5 days worth of notes that Jackson had put into place, so I could see how you and Kev were doing mostly, and then see where everyone else is at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nathan had a doctor's appointment. He said he's going to reach out for a 1-to-1, or we can just put this up on my YouTube channel and then I link it to you guys. That way he can just watch over this for an express walkthrough. What was I looking up? So I was helping a buddy of mine in Urban, husband of one of my old coworkers. He was doing like manual data entry and was wondering if I knew how to make a scraper. Okay, I use Puppeteer, not Cheerio. It's different. Never mind then. Fuck it. How up to date is your code currently on this lab?
I haven't pushed anything for the second part. Like all of part one, because there's part one, part two, and then the advanced.
Oh, that's right. Advanced is the downloader. You're trying to work on the title extractor, right? Is that part
Yeah.
two?
Yeah. Like you retrieve the articles from Reddit from the JSON, and then extract the title, URL, and author, and then you push those. You push the articles to an array, and then you put that information into a new file. And the way I have mine set up is everything right now is going. Because I tried to reference what you had put yesterday, plus what I was finding, and hold on, I need to make this full screen. Okay, and what I had done initially was
I love your console logs for the errors.
What?
They're in your code. You fudged up, homie, and you jacked up, fool.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I learned that from you, man. It helps me.
Keep it fun. Yeah, makes me happy. Cool.
Oh, wow. That was really quick. You pulled my code.
I've gotten good at it, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Takes me like 10 minutes.
Dude, that's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah. See, that first section, that literally only took me, well, once I, went back and then I rewatched the videos and, didn't watch, but I just referenced everything, and
this thing
that
is
part
garbage.
took me about like 10 minutes. But yeah, that's what I get to pop up.
Yep.
And yeah, Reddit.
I didn't run npm install, did I? That's amateur, Luke. I should know better than that. Okay. Don't have it installed. All right.
What did I forget?
You can do multiple installs in one line. So I could do npm install -- save request, let that finish, then do npm install -- save request promise, or I can do this: npm install -- save space request space request promise, and that'll install both these guys together now. That's one line installation for 2 packages.
I see what you're doing, because I didn't have it on the initial push that I did.
Nope. So I fixed that.
Got it.
So I'll kind of like do something similar, and then I can let you kind of figure it out. But like I won't give you this walkthrough code because I'll be doing it. So I just want you like to be paying attention, like thinking of the logic behind it. And I'll probably try and mess something up on purpose so we can try and solve it and debug it together. Yeah. So part 2 is create a JavaScript file in the root of your project called reddit.js. Reddit.js. Cool. Part 1 done. Easy. All right. What's next? Use request promise. So we're going to need to have const rp equals require request promise. If you want, I can download Cheerio and show you how to do it. But let's figure it out with request promise, and then I'll make a walkthrough and send it to you on how it would be done in Cheerio if you're honestly curious and have been messing around with it. But Cheerio is like a built-in web crawler that does stuff like that for you. It's actually really useful.
Okay.
To retrieve articles from the JSON, extract from each article title, URL, author, push each extracted article to an array, write the array to a file, blah, 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 blah. Let's start out with a bit more simple. I'm not going to bother with URL and author and pushing it to an array. I'm just going to see if I can't make a console log work. I mean, why overcomplicate it from there?
Okay.
Right? I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. So we're going to do RP.
Yeah.
Copy link address. I don't know why I opened it up. My bad.
Oh, I was about to
it's going to be a string. There we go. RP is a promise.
Drop down.
It's going to have a response. They're going to arrow function and, oh wait, we have to do JSON.parse, don't we? Yeah, there you go. We're going to parse the JSON so it becomes a JavaScript readable object, because otherwise we can't read it in terminal. It'll say object, 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 object.
Yeah.
So we yeah. So then we'll have to do this. Then the response from this above line will be some new data or something like that, or like what parsed data. There we go. That'll make this very clear, right? Now we're gonna have to do some testing. So I'm gonna do the brackets and open up this, do a catch. When the error happens, oh shit. Error,
Okay. So
whoops.
before like I started going out and trying to figure out, other ways of doing this, or if there was a better way, because what I was getting wasn't making sense. What I initially had was almost the same setup as yours, except on my first .then, underneath RP and then the link, I did .then and then I used data as the response.
Okay.
And then I did an arrow function, and I wrote it to a file, and then that's where I did populararticles.json.
Oh. And you saw the response though, like you saw this thing in the file?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Well done. That's awesome. Like you were mostly there.
Oh.
I mean,
Okay.
mostly. Like from now, it's figuring out how to navigate this catastrophe of a fucking.
Yeah. See, what I couldn't figure out after that was once I get to there is how to pull out the information from. No, I didn't get that.
Yeah, well, you got the actual JSON response, right?
Yeah, I got the actual JSON response.
Okay, so the articles look like they're in a thing called data in an array called children in the original JSON. So like, I will bundle it up and start working my way down. So the initial response in the JSON has a kind and a data object. So I would then go, okay, well, let's try this. Let's see what this gives me now. Okay. Everything has a kind and another data object now. And it has a modash, I don't know what the fuck that is, dist, I have no idea what that is. And it has a children, which is an array. And that array looks like all the top articles. Okay, so let's print parse data, dot children. Heyo. Look at this mess. Now we have each of the children, which means, where'd that code go? In this madness, we have gotten parse data, dot data, gets all this garbo, and then we did dot children, which is an array of 25 items, which is the 25 most popular articles currently on Reddit. And each of those has a kind, each children has a kind in the data. Jesus Christ. And that's an array though, so we can't add another dot data onto this madness. This right here is an array. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna move it up a level now. Let article array, or popular array, right? That's what it is. There. And just to confirm, all we've done now is put the information. We put all these into an array, so it should spit out the exact same answer, right? Following? Yeah, because we've pushed it into an array. Sick. Okay. Now each object in the array has a kind key and a data key, and the data key is another goddamn object that has the information finally. And there should be a dot title, maybe?
Yeah, it's they all have one because I was curious, so I looked I went to the actual Reddit JSON on the web server.
And just controlled F or something?
And yeah, I controlled F to find all the titles.
There it is, all right.
Because there should be 26 of them.
Okay, cool. It does have a dot title. So we have a handy dandy function that can help us with this. We can do a dot map, but we can also do something called a for each, or we can write a for loop, whatever you want to do. for each is just a shorthand array for loop for us. So we can do popular array dot for each. These autofills in. So it's a loop that just runs for as many elements as we have in our array, and each individual one it automatically fills as an element, but we'll call it article because each element in this array should be one article, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're not going to do another console log because that's all I really care about at this point is like, can I get down to what I'm looking for is my thought process before I bother doing anything more advanced than that. If I can just get it to pop up like I expect, good to go. Don't care. So each one has a kind, which we don't care about. Each one has a data, which we do care about. So it's going to be article dot data and not dot kind. Okay. Now each one of those data objects is another object that has all the shit in it, which should have dot title, right? Like you said, because you looked at the JSON and you said each one did have a data dot title, right?
Yes, and there's 6 of them.
Okay. Small change.
Just to make sure.
Fuck. Reference error is not defined. Unhandled rejection error. Okay.
You're about to get real
So-
close up on my face so I can actually see every little things.
I think this right here. I don't know why I did dot array dot for each. It should be just be popular array dot for each. So it's a syntax error.
Okay.
Sorry, just making sure. Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's a syntax error. So it's be popular array dot for each, not dot array dot for each. I don't know why that auto filled. Clear. Try again. Ready?
Yep.
Nice. So I'm not even going to bother with the author and URL yet because we can probably make this easy.
So literally, it was like from what you did to what I had initially. The only thing that I didn't do is, let's see, because when you go down to, so instead of using response, I use data, and then I parse that data into a file. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's figuring out that the JSON response, you parse it like this. Then you have some kind of parse data that you can work on. And then you can navigate down of your data, has a dot data, has a dot children, which is an array. So you store that array into one you can work with. Because you could do parse data, dot children, dot for each. You can do that, but I don't like having something that crazy looking. Just so we're clear. The only reason I did this is to make it easier to work with popular array dot for each instead of parse data, dot children, dot for each. And each children in the array should be one article, and each one article has a data dot title, a data dot author, and I think a data dot URL on it, right? Because you already found out that on the JSON.
Yeah, I mean they're labeled differently, but
right.
Yeah, I mean because it doesn't say URL or
yeah
anything like you actually have to go in there and look and find them before you can write it out. But I think where I was getting confused about pulling stuff out because I tried the dot data dot children adding it to it, but it kept coming back as undefined. And I think it was because I put it in the wrong place, and I think I know why. Because I was putting it where you have JSON.parse response. I was putting it in there thinking that it had to pull it from that, like initially, like you know what I mean. I was putting it in there.
I don't have to do it this way. I think they actually want you to push it into an array, but I'll let you mess with that. I'm just testing to see if this will work. So I should get 26 console logs saying it is written, so it is written, so it shall be done, along with the nope. Unhandled rejection error is not defined. Blah 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 blah. What has now backfired? Yes. Yes, yes. Maybe I'm just overriding and it's not liking that. Nope, didn't like that either.
So I was having an issue with this because it was in the because I put it in the root. Like since Reddit.js was in the root,
Yeah.
what I had to do is I had to write it as well, wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're good. All right,
You're
you know
in
what? Here's what we're gonna do.
different.
Maybe it can't return a function because I think for each can't do that. So I'm gonna try something else. Instead of console logging each one, we're just gonna there. Yeah. Setting some kind of temp array, push each article into the array. And then after that for each is done, it's gonna write file articles.json. And instead of article, it's gonna do title array. There we go. But it doesn't have a key, so it might not like JSON.stringify. That's probably where the error is happening now that I think about it. So we're gonna push. Instead of pushing just directly into an array like that, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna push an object into the array. And the object will have a key of title, and the title will be article dot data dot title. There we go. So instead of saying push just the string value into the array, push an object that has a key of title and the string as the value into the array. So it's now an array of objects. That way when we stringify it, it should actually look nice and pretty. One more time, motherfucker. Oh my God, what now? What is the error that is occurring? Oh, look, I never finished fucking writing file system. I have no idea how long ago my code was actually probably fine. Son of a bitch.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there aren't 26 of them. Yeah, maybe.
25.
Oh, I guess there was a repeat somewhere.
Yeah, pretty cool. So now, as you can imagine, you can add more keys, like URL, blah, 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 blah. And then author, blah, 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 blah. And you can pull off some other stuff on there, right? Write a couple more things about each one. Just mess with that JSON a little bit. There you go. That's that part. The advanced section, even I kind of struggle. I struggled with it big time back then, and I still struggle with it. I struggled with it the other day too. When I was trying to redo this lab, I was just like, how the fuck did I pull this off back in the day? My God. Either I was smarter back then or because like the lectures were fresh in my head, I actually had this stuff in mind, you know?
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, I know sometimes when I watch the videos, like if I sit there and I watch all of them back to back and then go through and then try to do the lab instead of waiting, like
Yeah.
watch them and then go eat dinner and then come back or whatever the case may be. Like I'm able to get through a lot more than I usually am able to. So
I heard that.
that also got me because I forgot that you had to require, or like you had to write a variable and require each thing every time you
Yep.
you create a new file. And yeah, that threw me back a couple times.
I'm just gonna copy this line since I did the same thing. So let's see. Where I can't stop hiccuping. Where did our JSON go? Here we go. Loaded.
All right, let's see.
They have thumbnails, but I don't know if that really helps us. I think we want the whole thing out of thumbnail, right? As a preview, has images.
And then it's It's got
We don't
GIFs.
we don't care about previews though. Fuck those things. We want the actual. There's a permanent link to the subreddit. There's all right. The URL. There we go. It's a GIF v, which you can't store GIF v, so we can't use that one. I want to find a JPEG one we can mess with. Here we go. Here's a direct URL. That's the bear watching people get married. Okay. Now I'm curious.
Gotta love Reddit.
Yeah. So we get the whole JSON. We already know what that response and fiasco looks like. And we have some code that goes through each, that already goes through each one and pulls a title off it and a URL when you get there yourself. And the URL is the link to the image. So we already have logic to do that for us. We could copy and paste it in here to do it for the array. But I want to see what the fuck happens when we don't do the whole JSON. What if we do a request promise on just that? It's a JPEG. We can't really console log that. We can't JSON it. You know, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do with it. So we're just gonna see if we can't manually write this son of a bitch down. So it's gonna get some kind of response from our promise. I don't know what the fuck it's gonna be. It's not a JSON. It's an image. So I really don't know what's gonna happen at this point. We can't console log an image. Although if you're curious, well, actually I'm curious. What the hell will console log? Because I have no clue. I've actually never tried this. Because I figured you can't console log a fucking image.
You would think.
That's the base 64 of the image, bro.
I don't know what that means.
It's the encoded like binary text that comprises an image essentially. Because like the image at the end of the day is still stored data. You know, they don't store an image. You store the data that represents it, where the pixels are supposed to go, what color they are, etc. Right?
Okay.
What is DPI is like all that stuff is encoded into a long string of crazy ass characters that will be decrypted and forms the picture on your screen. That's the data that's stored behind an image, which is also why it becomes a nightmare to store images on a database. There's no like image column type. You can store the base 64 of the image and decrypt it, or you can just store it directly on the Amazon services and fucking forget about it, which I think most people do. That's later on though.
This is insane.
It's like that fucking Matrix, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Let's see if I can't find a relevant thing about that. Decoder, base 64 image, yeah, see? Inlining images in HTML with base 64. Many people are not aware that images can be inlined in HTML code. The method in which this is done is called base 64 encoding. Interesting. Somebody did this, not in this Catalyst class, but somebody, an atomic student, had a base 64 image. And I was like, where the fuck did you get this and how did you figure out how to do this? So like, well, I just copied the image in their HTML and I pasted it into mine and it worked. I'm like, huh, psycho. I want to show you what it might look like. No. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like this, except it's way longer, obviously. But that's encoded in base 64. And every single little thing represents, and capital, letter, whatever, it all represents a color, a pixel, where it's supposed to go, how big the image is, everything.
Wow.
Base 64 encoder image tool. That's pictures. That's me at the mustache. Let's encode that. Go. That's what the picture of me looks like when I used to have a handlebar.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I fucking rocked that shit, didn't I? And ready for this?
I've seen you with that before.
I worked at Urban Standard for 10 years, so.
I think I've seen you with the handlebars.
I was pretty easy to spot in a crowd, let's put it that way. And ready to see what it encoded?
Good God.
That's what that image looks like in base 64. And then you decode it in your HTML and it gives you an image that looks like this.
I'm trying to figure out who initially sat down and was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and write code so all of these symbols mean this particular thing. And then they put an image together based on that.
Sounds like it was like Will or Landers, doesn't it?
It probably will.
I wouldn't put it past them. Yeah.
No,
but that's essentially what we're seeing here, and why it looks like a giant fiasco, and that doesn't really help us in our goal. But we now know we're getting an image of something. I don't know what the hell this is, but we've gotten some kind of response. So instead of doing that, I wonder Wonder. Give us some room to think here. fs.write file. Let's just write the fucking thing, I guess. I don't know.
Path.join.
Well, let's force this to be the name of the file, the ID of the image here. Yeah, but this is just me experimenting because I actually don't know how to write this directly. Because we're gonna have to use this logic. No, it's good. We'll have to use this logic to get the array of everything that has a URL, that has an ID, and then we can get an extension type from it. But right now, we're gonna have to do something else. So we're gonna do some experimenting because I actually don't know what's gonna happen here either. All these crazy parentheses, colon things are confusing the hell out of me. We're gonna put it into something called, I don't know, downloads. Yeah.
All right.
Downloads / its ID. Like we're gonna hard code it just to work with this guy and not have it be dynamic at all because I'm just curious. I don't know how this is gonna work.
Okay.
Nope, that need to be there. Okay. And then the next thing is the data, which is gonna be the response. And we're not having JSON on it because it's an image. And if it fucks up, it's gonna throw an error, right? So keep it quick.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Okay. Technically, we need a catch too, but I mean, it's not going to fail this catch, I don't think, unless that image happens to disappear. So I'm not going to bother with that. Clear this garbage. Pop your downloader. Run it. Error. No such file directory open. NodeJS /download /blah. But it worked. Yeah, lovely. Why? What did it not like that I wrote? Do I have to make the downloads folder? Oh,
I thought you were making it when you created the file.
Me too.
Well, even if you, well,
I didn't specify a file type, right? So let's hardcode .jpg. So we're just going to do its ID and its file extension name. Let's try that because I think it might have tried to create a double directory. Maybe that's why it was messing up because it didn't know what to create this as. That's the thought. I actually don't know. Damn it. Node popular downloader open download blah 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 blah. And then this is called path. What if I make the directory? New folder. Downloads. Although I don't know why we shouldn't have to, which is why this is boggling me at the moment. Try again. All right, now it worked. Don't see anything. This throws a lot of people off, by the way. It's a fucking JPEG. How do you not support this file format? Everyone runs into this problem, and there's no really good solution to it.
It's just play around until you can get it right.
Pretty much. We wrote the file, and the image is here. What did I do differently in my code then? Because I at least had JPEGs popping up, and I was like, fuck it, and I went on from there. I didn't bother with trying to get like movies and GIFs and all that stuff because it's just a fiasco and a half trying to figure that out.
You could just say it's supposed to be something that appears to look like carbon fiber. Hey,
a lot of people, what they'll do when they submit this lab for review, if they're in molecular or atomic, they submit it and all they're doing is just writing the name of the URL in here instead of like downloading the actual file. I'm like, it works, I guess. So it's just like it's like a hyperlink. You just click in here and it takes you to the image. Interesting.
Let's see.
I made that look real weird, didn't I? So request promise download. What download image? Here we go. Request promise. Try and download a PNG from a URL right to file. Okay, so what do they do? Get the URL for the image on error. I guess that's old syntax. Oh, it's just a year ago. I have no idea what on is. I guess if on error exists, catch it or something like that. Well, this is some kind of weird promise chain I'm not familiar with. On response, then you're going to take the response and log status code 200. Response.headers content type image slash p. What? What now? Did I do that? No, I didn't. Okay. So he's got URL for the file, no encoding. Maybe that's what I'm missing.
That file somehow.
And he does a
buffer.
Well, I see where I figured it out. I didn't do any kind of buffering stuff like this on my first attempt. Or rather, on my newer attempt when I ran this lab Friday of last week, which unfortunately I've deleted that directory. But I'm looking at the lab I did when I was in class, and I copied this code exactly and just changed it to work. So.
And then right below that other comment, buffer.from, not necessary.
All right, so they do a get on options, so we can change ours a little bit. I'm gonna delete this so we can override it in a minute. Okay, that was this. It was up here I'm changing, that's right. So it looks like they had an object in here, son of a bitch, that has a URL key of the string. What happened? Double quotes. There, fixed. And then it had encoding as no. Okay. So now all we've done, we had the same thing, except we changed the direct string into an object that has both the string and our encoding in it, and then we're gonna see what happens now. I always put like it worked in quotes because hey, so that's what the issue was. Why the fuck did that work though? Let's go to the documentation because I don't know either why this worked and why the including of the encoding null worked for all of our code being the same. Like what does encode, like did it pass some kind of default encoding that was making it not download correctly?
I don't know. Is it a required syntax that you just have to specify?
For image downloads, it might be. Let's see. Crawl a web page. Get something from an API. Don't care.
Yeah,
I want to.
I've scrounged through this whole thing and I haven't seen anything about
encoding, right? API in detail. I might be able to read something that you couldn't understand though, so that could possibly help us, right? Okay. They
disabilities right now.
Yeah, it gets easier over time, but please keep trying to read them and keep trying to pick out even the tiniest little things you could do or figure out and understand.
That's what I've been doing.
That's how I've made it this far.
Nice. So nothing on encoding, strangely enough. The word encoding is not even on their API, you buttholes.
Hold on, what was that you were just at? No. Yeah, go down one more. Oh, it just says the same thing.
Maybe someone on Stack Overflow will explain it. What? Add encoding binary. Doesn't work and try encoding null. Okay, but why the fuck does that work though? It's not saying why it's working.
Back up at the top where, you were just in request promise, but it says is not necessary since passing encoding null. Oh, wait, weren't you just here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Please do not use request promise for streaming the response. Streaming the response, because he does a create write stream, which I also tried to do at one point with my buddy in class, but it didn't work. See the first bullet point here for more explanation. A request object with an identical API to say, however, streaming the response pipe is discouraged. Well, we're not going to worry about piping stuff in, so forget that. Instead, use the request library, blah, 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 and request side by side. Huh. So buffer.from res UTF-8 is not necessary since passing and encoding null as option would already make res a buffer. The response a buffer, right? So it turns this into a buffer. What the hell does that even mean?
Is it saying, or what it sounded like to me is it's requiring a buffer to download, or to, when you're writing a code to display an image, you have to, it's requiring a buffer, but since you're using encoding null, it's doing the exact same thing as what a buffer would do.
Right, so now we gotta figure out what the fuck a buffer is. And of course, it's not in their own documentation. Why the hell would it be?
Because this is coding. Haven't you learned everything's difficult?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Very contrived. You have to tell request the data is binary, documented here. Encoding to be used on set encoding of response data. If null, the body is returned as a buffer. Anything else, including the default value of undefined, will be passed as an encoding parameter to toString, meaning this is effectively UTF-8 by default. So without that option, the body data is interpreted as UTF-8 encoded, which isn't, and yields an invalid JPEG file. Aha!
So finally someone gave us an answer.
So it turns it into a buffer, which we need to make it work. And you could specify what type of buffer it is, and by default, it's undefined. And so undefined means we default to UTF-8, which I think is like typically text-based encoding, if I'm not mistaken. That's what UTF-8 is. And JPEGs are not UTF-8 text encoding, they're a fucking image. So I guess when we specify null, just download whatever the buffer type is, it sets the buffer type automatically for us and downloads the goddamn JPEG. Hence why this one little fucking line of code made all this garbage work right now. Let's try it with another one from the JSON as a test. Huh? Oh. URL. Nope, that's not going to help. That's a GIF. Well, it's a GIF V. That's Goofy getting kissed by the milkman. Yeah.
Oh, GIF video. I get it.
That's not going to help us because I don't think we can actually download a GIF video. But you know what? We're going to try anyway. Shall we?
Yeah, why not?
Hard code that. Take the end off this like so. Put it in a downloads folder with the same ID and the same file extension. Let's give it a shot.
Run that shit.
My man, you pick on by my style quick. Well, Jiffy didn't work. Good to know.
Well,
but I think it just tells you.
Oh, it just gives us the code for it.
Yeah, it does. But if you run this. What? More apps. No, not that. Where's Chrome? Ugh. Ugh. No, I just wanted to load it in Chrome. I don't want Internet Explorer. Downloads. What the? No, no. Oh, fuck. I've messed everything up now. Oh, no. Will it work in VLC? Nope, not a bad file. So looking, I'm going to, hold on. GIF Vs are fairly new, and I remember not having any luck with downloading those things back in the day. Where's the lab for this? Lab, node. Video image or a GIF, and the GIF Vs are clearly not going to want to work, are they? I wonder if we can find something that's not a GIF V and just a GIF that we can try running on here. We just tried that one.
Here, I'll look.
There's a JPEG. Well, I'll try a different file type, you know? This one, I don't know what the fuck this URL even is. Well, it's Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII, but there's no .jpeg, so it wouldn't work. Now, this is where I got really pissed off because the lab never specified that you're going to get a bunch of stuff that you can't actually download or do correctly. So you have to write some logic that says if it ends in .jpg, download it. Otherwise, don't do shit all and skip it in the loop.
Fun.
Yeah, URL, another .jpeg. URL, another GIF-V. URL is nothing, so there's no file extension on it. So I have, oh, that was a self-post, like a self-content thing. I mean, I guess we'll just download JPEGs for fuck's sake. But, okay, so now that we've gotten this far, we already have some logic that does some stuff for us. So we're just going to do some repeating. I'm just going to mark this sucker out for now because I'm going to be looking at it in just a minute. And we're going to go back to the basic RP, go into the JSON. Because now we're going to worry about actually doing something cool with the JSON file, right? We're going to get a response. We're going to have to parse that response. Then it's going to have parsed data. It's going to have some funzo logic. We're going to make some space for it. And we had let article array was going to be parsed. What was it? Dot data dot children. Was that right? In the JSON.
Yeah. Data dot, because it was in the body, in the data, and then the children, and so then
parse data dot children. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. And now we have an array, which means we can do a dot for each. And in a for each, the first thing it takes is whatever we call it, kind of like the same thing as a map. We're going to call in from the articles array, each element should theoretically be an article. And we're going to console log as a test. It's going to console log article. So each article in the array is an object, and each one has a dot data, and each dot data should have a dot URL. So let's give her a test. Okay.
There they are.
GIF-V, JPEG, JPEG, GIF-V.
You got an HTML in there.
Nothing we can actually test that's a movie or anything else.
Yeah. What's a PNG?
It's a picture.
Oh.
Let's try that then. Let's uncomment this back out. I'm going to comment this back in because I don't want two promises running at the same time and messing things up. Paste. Oh, pfft, I didn't get the whole thing. I was like, what? There, we need the whole address. Crop that off. Move that here. Okay, ready?
Yep.
There. It worked, question mark?
Cool.
PNG, ready?
Yep.
Fuck yes. Shelter. I don't know why I zoomed in on that. There. Uh-oh, how do I zoom out? Okay, control click, there we go. Cute. All right, we can download PNGs, we can download JPEGs. GIF-Vs aren't gonna work. There's no movies to test on the current JSON, but we now have some cool logic that will help us possibly figure out what the hell we gotta do down here now. All right, so we have our request promise, and again, just to double check that it still works, it gives us a list of URLs. Yeah, got it. Now, trying to remember. Okay, so all right. Someone DM me. I was making sure it wasn't anything like urgent that I had to get to. Got the URL, so we could technically just do a fucking, what's it called? A download of each URL. We could do that. Out of curiosity, what's the JSON look like again? Did it have an ID somewhere in here that matched up?
I did not see one, but honestly, I wasn't looking for an ID when I was going through because there's way too much.
Oh. Well, actually, the file name doesn't matter. It's the extension that matters, right? We can call this. We can download this file. So here, let me show you what I mean. Hello, cat. He's coming to visit today.
And don't worry.
Okay.
Come on,
we don't have to keep these the same, do we? We're writing our own file. The only thing that matters the most is the extension name, right? That's all that matters. So let's call this butthole. Now let's comment this out because it's gonna fail. Let's run this code now. Yeah.
Okay.
Butthole.png. Oh, it's the same thing. How interesting. So it doesn't matter what we call the file. We don't really care about its ID, but there is a ID key on there that we can just use that for now. That'll work. But all that really matters is the extension type of what we download. Interesting. If I recall, there might have been something like path.ext name that gave us the extension name, perhaps. Yeah.
I recall something of that.
Something of that nature. How about we do that down here? We have a URL, and let's do parse.ext name. Not parse, path. I was like, why is it not filling in? Path.ext name, and we're going to pass in the URL, and we're just going to console log it and see now what happens.
If I remember correctly from the last video, someone whose name I'll not mention right now could have put that into a variable that had 3 triple X's in it.
That's right. That sounds right. Huh, there you go. And the other links in here are like the ones that didn't have an extension name. Like there was one that just led to an HTML page but didn't have a .html.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So I wonder.
It's cool how it's got spaces in between them though, just because of that. I mean, it looks like it just like fritzed
out. I know, right? It's kind of funky. We're gonna console log it. Okay, how am I gonna do this?
Console log path station.
Okay, I got it.
What's the question mark?
You'll see. It's called a ternary. Ah, shit! I forgot to copy it. We're gonna cut it and move it up a layer. I'm gonna do some kind of weird inline test that you probably. Oh my God, cat.
He just wants to be loved.
Yeah, this is gonna be a local variable, so it's gonna get overwritten every single time we do this. And since we have made a tiny change in the flow of logic, we're gonna test to see if we just get a similar looking response as we did above, just because we destructured it a little bit. Okay, it did. What the hell is a .2? What the hell, Reddit? Get your shit together. But yeah, it worked. And because the front page is changing fairly regularly, we'll see these change even throughout the day as we're testing it. So it won't have the exact same format as the above one. Okay, I gotta try and talk, buddy. I love you. I'm sorry. I feel so. He like looks at me like, what? I thought you loved me. I'm like, dude, I'm working. But nevertheless, it's still spitting out extension names, which is what we care about the most. And at least there's one .jpeg we can test on here still. All right, this probably looks like some weird magic, but bear with me. Well, hold on.
While you're doing that, I'm going to ask you a question not pertaining to this. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of people, even you've mentioned it, that y'all use TypeScript.
Mm-hmm.
Do we learn that in this course?
No.
Okay.
TypeScript is a strongly typed JavaScript. So it is pretty much the exact same workflow and syntax, except whenever you define a variable or use some kind of object, you have to define what type of variable it is. Meaning if we had let num equal 5, we have a global TypeScript thing that we say number is going to be an integer type value, like a whole number type value. You have to define what num is, because like let num equal the name string Michael is valid in JavaScript. In TypeScript, it's like you have to define num first. If num is a string, then Michael is a valid value. If num is an integer, then Michael is not a valid value. So if you're doing some complex functions that pass arguments left and right, if you've defined what every single type of value those arguments are supposed to be, it will compile and run correctly and spit out the correct results. So it's going to have red squigglies, obviously, but bear with me. Oh my God, here. If this thing just took a number and spit out the number plus 5, it's like our add 5 function. There, makes more sense. This is our add 5 function, right? It takes one argument called pizza, and it does pizza plus 5. Well, if you're looking at my code base in JavaScript, you're like, I don't know what the fuck pizza is, but if it's a pizza, I'll just give it a pizza. So if you did something like add 5 function, I don't know, cheese, it'll run cheese plus 5, but they'll spit out a goofy looking answer, and you're like, well, that doesn't look like it's working correctly, so why the fuck did he call it pizza, you know? In TypeScript, you do something like this. Pizza is an integer type, which means this argument will only work if an integer passes to it. So in TypeScript, you can't even run this code because I have passed a type string into the parameter pizza when it's supposed to be an integer. So this is now, it won't compile, it won't run, whereas it will run in JavaScript.
Yeah.
So it'll have in TypeScript, it'll have a red underline right here, and you highlight it and it says argument pizza expects integer, you pass string. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you go down here and go, I want to add 5 plus 5. And then it goes, okay, this will now run correctly, and you can run it, and it'll spit out 10 when we invoke it.
Got it.
So you specify all your data types ahead of time, and your code will not run unless everything matches up as expected.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Because I remember, when you were going through the walkthrough this morning during the webinar, you had mentioned something about TypeScript, and I didn't know if that was something that we had learned, like we were going to learn towards the end of the course or not. So that's why I was asking.
Got it. Although obviously once you master JavaScript, like you have a very good foundation of JavaScript coming out of this course, picking up TypeScript is a bit cumbersome at first until you figure out TypeScript syntax. Once you figure it out and you start coding out logic, it's just JavaScript. Except now you have like some definitive shit declared. That way if your code has a mismatch of values somewhere, it'll tell you. And you can find the error like that before it runs and gives you the wrong answer. Or like it gives you a right answer for the wrong reason. That won't happen in TypeScript.
Okay.
Because if so like back with that old add 5 function, let's say it could have accidentally concatenated a string of 5 plus the value 5, and it still gave you 55, but it's a string and no longer a number, and all of a sudden it runs, but for the wrong reason. So if you specify it has to be a type number, it can't take the string 5 and add 5 and concatenate a string out of them. It'll go, this is a mismatch, it won't work. Right? Okay, so that's what I mean by strongly typed language. You have to define your variables manually of what type they're going to be.
Oh,
hence TypeScript. But again, it's just a backbone of JavaScript. So it'll have the exact same syntax as this, minus a couple like universal declarations up here that will have a type defined with them. And then like right here, an article would be an object type. That's how I do it in TypeScript. Right? Okay, well, that's a side note.
Yeah. I mean, I was just curious because you had mentioned I didn't know if we were going to learn it or not.
I can help you learn it. I can show you the same stuff that helped me figure it out after class.
Yeah. Once the course is done and I have a good understanding.
Okay, I'm going to comment out this line. We're going to run this. We have stored the extension and this again, and we're going back to the old school, just log the extension. Cleared it, node, it worked. Jiffy, JPEG 2.jpg, Jiffy, Jiffy, JPEG, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of JPEGs in here now. Now, watch this magic. I'm commenting out the extension itself.
Okay.
And I'm running an if-else statement. That's all this is. It's just called a ternary, and I blow students' minds away with this garbage.
That's an if-else statement.
This is a condition. This with a question mark. It says, is this condition true or is it false? If true, oh my God, there we go. If it's true, do this. Otherwise, do this. This stands as the else.
Huh.
So print out its extension if it's if it exactly matches .jpg. Otherwise, print out a string that says nope. So let's see if it looks similar to this with all the JPGs in there now.
Buddy, I'm gonna start using that. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you can do quick they're called ternaries, and you can do them inline really easily. And in React Native, something that I do all the time is something like this. Okay, it's a platform.os = iOS, meaning is this an iOS or an Android device? If it's iOS, have a margin of 10. If it's Android, have a margin of 0. Because the margin is included on iOS headers and not on Android headers. So you have to specify one or the other. So I'll have these in line all over the place in my React Native CSS, so to speak. It's like CSS, but not. But the idea is like, I'm going to check to see if I'm on iOS or I'm on Android. If I'm on iOS, do this, otherwise do this. It's so much easier writing this than having a bunch of if-else statements, making your code look way longer than it actually is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, it's fun. But if you're doing more than one line, you have to do the if-else statement. This only works if your response on if or else is a one-line response.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I'm doing an else if, then I have to do the original.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So let's write it out in longhand now, because we're gonna do some logic here. There, same thing. Pretty cool seeing it like this though. Like you can definitely like look real fancy, and a lot of people use it not because it's like particularly easier to read. It's just you feel like real cool pulling it off. You know what I mean? And to double check it's still working.
There it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, Reddit JSON is changing fast, isn't it? It's like every time we do a request, it's already different.
Well,
but I mean, it's still working, which is the important part. We're still getting .jpegs.
I mean, look, it just changed again.
Yeah, that's so weird, but whatever. All right, so
Reddit constantly.
Okay, so we have a console log of our .extension down here and a .nope down here. Well, this is a good spot that we're probably going to have some kind of logic going on here. We're going through each article in the array and we're pulling off its extension off the article.data.url, right? So what if in here, fuck, I wonder if this will work actually. In here, what if we try to download the image like we were doing up here, that we're constantly doing up here actually, right? That's what we're doing up here. Let me delete all these. Delete. So that's the same, what we're doing right here is now the same thing down here, and I already fucked it up. We need to do this, remember? There, encoding, null. So now for each article in the array, we're pulling off the URL and doing the same thing we did up here for one single file, right? And this string right here is represented by whatever this value is, which as we saw earlier is the URL for each image. Mm-hmm. And we're also have it only working on JPEG, so it's not going to download anything else. We did the encoding, and then we're going to do pretty much the same response. So now we can do a dot then here and move it down a new line. I just like chaining it on the parentheses, especially as it gets kind of hectic, just to make sure that I'm in the right spot, so to speak. Okay, that's gonna have some kind of response. And with that response, we're gonna do some kind of, oh, I don't know, something like this. I'm just gonna copy this shit. There. Now we can delete this because we're doing the same thing just now in here, right? Format, push everything in. Oh, Lord. Okay. We don't want to call every single one butthole.png. That's not going to help us. But we are going to do something kind of cool here. We're doing a template literal now, so I'm back to backticks. And it's going to be look in this directory / downloads directory, which is currently empty. And if I'm not mistaken, it'd be article.data.id should be a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just watch what I'm doing. Actually, I don't think we'll even need the dot, will we? Because the .ext is printing out, yeah, it does the dot for us, right?
Oh,
So
I get it. You're just concatenating. Okay.
yeah, I'm getting some kind of unique name to give this thing. We could call them all butthole, but they'd be overriding each other, and we don't want that. So we want something unique. And it looks like each article in this data has a unique ID, and we're going to use that as the file name. Then we concatenate ext, which we know is .jpeg, onto the ID. So it should be /downloads /something.jpg, and only if it's a JPG and nothing else. Because that's why I showed you earlier, we can call it butthole.png and it still worked, right? That's why I was trying to point out that it doesn't matter what we call the file, it's the extension name that matters. And we have extension by doing path.ext name, and it does .jpeg for us automatically right here, and it should fucking write the list of JPEGs for us.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong.
Before I enter it, yeah.
Yeah. This is just a side note for me, just to know if I can do this or if I'd have to write more if-else statements. So in your if, where extension is, it has to be equal to .jpeg, right? Can you include multiple extension types, as in like if I wanted to say dot.
Go ahead.
Never mind. You're doing it right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. So my question was going to be, is there a way to do it if I had to do it, how you're doing it right now, or if I could do it in regards to adding a comma and
you say or. This is the or. Logical operator or.
Okay.
So now we're testing.
Yeah,
you probably haven't used it until now.
No,
so
I've never used it.
ext is either JPG, or ext is .gif, or ext is .mov. And if any one of those hits true, we'll get rid of this console log. We no longer need that. It'll do a request to that URL with no encoding, download it by its ID name, and add the .gif, the .mov, or the .jpg as the extension automatically and dynamically. Say it worked for each one it does, and let's see what happens. Okay.
Wow. Nice.
Pretty fucking cool.
So how come
this is way better than my old code? My God. This is better than what I did even Friday, for God's sake.
See, which that right there just shows me, like the more you do it, the better you get at it. So in your console.log though, instead of saying it worked, I could just change it to
nothing.
Nothing, or I could just change it to whatever the extension, right?
Yeah. So we can do this.
Yeah, just to show me exactly so just ext.
Yeah, or we can just copy it like this. There we go. And this will spit out exactly the name it's going to be writing over and over again. Yeah?
Yeah. Cool. Just a bunch of JPEGs.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, man. That's pretty fucking cool, man. And then, you know, the nope we don't really need in there because we just have one thing we're testing on, right? I mean, the nope is just saying it's not one of these. That's was my test earlier, so we can get rid of that now. And the if statement. And I'm going to delete this so we have a fresh start to make sure we can see if it's actually running or not. Ready?
Yeah. And there they are.
Not bad, my friend.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
No. Rather than package this up and put it in repo for you, I might just upload this Zoom meeting and let you like pick through it. I mean, you could probably just skip to the end and find it, but maybe you could, if you had a question of why something is written a current way, you could like kind of pick through our topic together. Or would you prefer to me to have like a comment above every line like I've been doing and then pushing that? It's up to you. I don't know what'll help you learn more because like we kind of worked through it together. I fell into some pitfalls on purpose to try and teach you. And I mean, you're picking it up. Like you were telling me what I'm doing and like your thought process up here, you had the right idea. I just showed you the syntax to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I would never have thought to go back and look for, you know,
You probably have a bunch of else ifs then like I did before. They would have a condition check for each one, right? That you would know how to do that.
Yeah, because I would have tried, you know, to go through and then separate each extension, like do extension has to equal .jpg, and then I would probably insert a comma and then do do a comma and then do like what's the or like MOV for a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
And then comma dot and then comma and then dot gif and do it that way. And then once it failed on me, I would have gone back and reverted it and then just wrote a bunch of if else statements.
I always just kept it really simple in my old labs. I'm seeing every single time I could do some kind of multi-check conditional, I write in a bunch of if else and else ifs, else if. But yeah, like I said, you know, I purposely fell into some problems on well, it's being redundant. I purposely fell into some problems so you could pause and be like, huh. And I specifically showed you that you can download a file and call it whatever you want as long as the extension name is correct. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter what you write it as. Up to you if you just want me to upload this and you can try going from memory and like logicking your way through it and then referencing this video, or if I can push this code to a repo and give you a link for it.
I mean, the way it is right now is fine for me because literally I can look at this and read this and I can go line by line right now and tell you exactly what everything is doing.
Hell yeah, dude. My correlation so far is fairly true. People that struggled on front end and React are doing okay in server, and the people that were really good on React are not doing okay in server. I had a one-on-one earlier with Richard, and he was just like, I feel completely lost. I'm like, okay, let me just start with the Express and work our way outwards. Which reminds me, with Express, that's going to be the second part of our meeting here. And if you need to take a pee break or get a snack or refill on some water, I might go do that real quick and come back.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just wanted to upload what you had the way it is, that's perfectly fine with me.